Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Committee on the 13th of March 24. First of all, apologies.
Thank you, Convener. We have apologies from Provost Bissett and also from Bailey Buchanan. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Henderson. Can we go into declarations of interest? Members should declare any financial or non-financial interest in any item of business, identifying the relevant agenda item and the nature of the interest. No, thanks very much. Moving to the minute of the last meeting of 14th of February. Anyone, anything to mention on the minutes? Any? Reid, Bailey, thank you. That's great. Moving to number 4, which is no, I was going to leave that to.
This is the site.
Aye, that's right. Is anyone want anything they want to move to sites before we start, rather than have people hanging about waiting for Councillor Forrest?
Could I ask that we have a site visit to number 6, P230404 FUL. That's the 39 dwellings and associated roads, drainage and infrastructure at east of Rosemead Terrace in California.
Is this the reason for this? Is to
I've never
the physical characteristics of the site. I've never seen the site.
I think it would be helpful, given it's a fairly small location and quite a number of dwellings.
Yeah. Is anyone otherwise minded? No.
Thanks, Convener. Just to note that what I've noted as agreed is a site visit to view the physical characteristics of the site. Is that everyone's understanding? Thank you.
Nicely put. Thank you.
I will suggest we have a visit to number 7, which is storage yard erection of a 2-metre high fence on green belt land in Leslie Park, Denny. Again, site visits to see the physical characteristics of the site and the actual green belt area. Anyone otherwise minded? No. Thank you. Right. Okay. Okay, then we'll have a short adjournment just to let the people who have come for as a deputation to let them know what's happening and let them leave if they wish to. Thank you. Okay then,
Convener.
welcome back.
Can I just ask a point of clarity, if you don't mind? Probably for Mr. Dryden. The 4 planning applications that's up today have all been called in councillors. Does that mean that we've not got any sitting waiting? Because if these weren't called in and they went through, I was saying there wouldn't have been anything at today's meeting.
I think there's a possibility, yes. I think based looking at the items that
Mr. Ryan, can you put your mic on?
yes, I think certainly obviously the scheme of delegation and standing orders allow that facility, but clearly if they weren't called in, they all were presented on the weekly recommendation list and they would have become a formal decision under the standing orders delegated powers regime that we currently have, but obviously they were called in, so yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ryan.
Then just move to number 4. Right, if we move to number 4, item 4 on the agenda, which is development of land for residential purposes at land to the east of the Courtyard Gift Shop, Drovelone, Edinburgh, for Mr. Stephen Russell. And I think it's Julie.
Yes, Julie.
Thank you, convener. Please can we show the location plan and then the site photographs for this item if possible, please. So this application is for planning permission in principle for proposed residential development. The application site forms part of a large field which is used for grazing horses to the east of established built development at Drovelone. The applicant has submitted a location plan which shows 2 residential plots taking access from an existing area of hard standing. Vehicular access would be via an existing private access track, which serves existing dwellings and commercial properties at the site. Members should note that there is a shed on the site within the field, which appears to relate to the keeping of horses at the site. However, there is no planning permission or other consent for this structure. The application is called in by Councillor Paul Gardner to allow the planning committee to consider the application on its own merits and the impact it could have on the surrounding area. The Community Council were notified of this planning application via the weekly list on the 4th of December. This application should be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material planning considerations indicate otherwise. Having regard to the provisions of the development plan, the main issues in determining this application are the principle of new housing development within the Green Belt and whether the proposed access is adequate. The proposed development does not accord with any of the circumstances where rural housing development or housing development within a Green Belt location is supported by the development plan and it is assessed as being contrary. There is a full policy assessment at section 7A of your report. Please, when you're ready, can you show the current and then the historic aerial photographs for this site, please? There is an extensive planning history associated with this built development at this site to the west of the application site. What you're looking at the moment is the historic aerial photography, which dates back to 2002. You can quite clearly see a cluster of houses and other structures on the site here, and the proposed application site is in fields to the east there. In a second, you'll see the current aerial photography, which you'll then be able to piece together with the proposed location plan. The planning history is detailed at section 3.1 of your report. However, there are 3 planning applications which are specifically relevant to this application, i.e. the area of grazing land to the east of the site and not the envelope of established built development, which you can see here at the moment. This is discussed in section 3.2 to 3.6 of your report. Only 2 of these applications were ultimately validated and determined. Both were refused, both were then appealed to Scottish ministers, and the appeals were both subsequently dismissed. The reporter concluded that the land, i.e. the grazing fields that relate to this application, are not brownfield and comprise a separate planning unit to the developed land to the west, which we can see at the moment. The consultation responses are detailed at section 4 of your report, and members should note that the Roads Development Unit advised that this application is not in the best interests of road safety, as the development would significantly exceed the number of properties which can be accessed off a private access road, as specified by the National Roads Development Guide. The planning history for this site, including the appeal decisions mentioned and the consultation responses from the Roads Development Unit, are material planning considerations which add further weight to refusing this application. The applicant did seek to justify the proposed development on the basis of needing two new additional houses in addition to the existing house as being required to serve the cafe on site. However, the running of a cafe is not a use where a permanent on-site presence is required for essential operations. The matters raised by the applicant are detailed in section 7b.9 to 7b.13 of your report, and it's considered that they do not support the development contrary to the provisions of the development plan or the planning history and road safety concerns raised. It's understood that the applicant has sent an email to members of the planning committee with a number of attachments. Members should note that information raised as a number of issues which were dealt with by way of a formal complaint to the council, which was not upheld. The applicant also complained to the Scottish Public Services Ombudsman in relation to some of the attachments that were contained in that email, who sought the services of an independent planning advisor in their deliberation of the matters raised. The Scottish Public Services Ombudsman did not uphold the complaint, advising that the council acted reasonably and did not take any action. It's considered that the matters raised and shared by the email are not relevant to the assessment of this current application. It's recommended that the Planning Committee refuse planning permission for the reasons detailed at section 9 of your report. The reasons for refusal include the principle of development within the rural area and a greenbelt location, the quality of residential development which could be achieved at this location, sustainable transportation and the suitability of the access track to serve any additional units. Thank you, Convener.
Thanks very much, Julie. We don't have any deputations on this one. Just go to debate. Yeah, we'll just go straight to debate. Any members have any comments to make on any of the information that's been given to us? Billy Kerr.
Thanks, Convener. Can I just ask Julie? I was going through the pictures here, Julie, and I maybe never heard you. How many houses or buildings does this road service?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Approximately 12. So it's a mixture of dwellings and there's also commercial properties. So there is a cafe and there's also a bridal shop at the site.
Okay. So obviously the national guideline is 6 before it becomes an adopted road. How have we got to, that's not to do with you, but how have we got to 12 and it's still not adopted road? Or has it been asked for adopted road before? Do you know?
There's quite a long and I would consider quite a long and complicated planning history associated with this site, which is obviously detailed in the report. It's evolved over a period of time, Councillor, whereby there have been several applications, changes of use and development of land. Much of this development of this site, which I've found looking back at the planning history, has been based on it being brownfield land, i.e. a farm, and there was stables and other development there. And that's allowed it to evolve in quite a sporadic manner over time. And that's how we've came to the point where we've got quite a significant number of units off quite a substandard, I consider, and I'm sure Craig can comment more, access track. The principal issue with this new application is that they're looking to now extend beyond the envelope of built development into greenbelt land that's used for grazing horses to the east of that site. And that really takes it over and above and is causing us concerns that really we should not be supporting extending that built envelope out.
Thanks, Julie. Can I just get it clear on the photograph, the aerial photograph? If you could bring that back up, please. Just so I get it right for where the 2 houses are planned.
Okay, so if Jim was able to bring up
Yeah,
the
that's just trying to do that.
one, that's fine. So hopefully everybody can see that. I don't know if if you can zoom in slightly on that.
Just even if you see the wee icon that you're
There
moving,
we go. Yeah. So
is it up with that wee white baldness?
yeah, so that the white block that you can see there in the field to the east, that is the shed that was mentioned in my presentation to you. That shed appears to be for keeping of horses. It also appears to be a fairly recent introduction to the site, and there's no consent or planning permission for that one. But to try and identify the location where the two plots would be, if you can see the area of hard standing to the rear of the building that's got a Polish Me Pretty icon on it.
Yes. Yes.
Vehicular access would be taken off that area of hard standing with the two plots following the field boundary to the north, and there's also an extended garden area to the south there, which is not entirely accurate as well, but it would follow the line to the south and the north, and it would eat into that field to the east.
There you go. Thank you very much, Julie.
That's Councillor Kerr. Can we move on to Councillor Colley, please?
Yeah, thanks. I suppose it's a question regarding the issue around the access and how that is the issue around access. Bearing in mind there's two plots already been given planning permission and take away whether it's green or otherwise. There's two plots already been given permission, and the suggestion is that these two plots would replace those two plots. So actually, would it have an impact on transport and access if that was the case, or has that happened already, or is that a proposal by the applicant? Because I wasn't really 100% clear.
You happy for me to answer that question, convener?
Yes, yes, thanks.
All right, thank you, councillor. That's a very good question. The applicant has suggested in some of the supporting information, and I think in information that was circulated to members, that there is extant planning permission for two houses within the existing group of built development, that these would be revoked to give way to building the two houses that are proposed by this application. So there's two issues here. There's firstly an argument that there would be no net benefit or impact on the road because the two would replace the two. Our position is that extending that eastern boundary into grazing land in a green belt location should not be supported in any event. And then secondly, there is the actual administration of revoking these planning applications. It is possible to revoke planning permissions. You would need to make an order. I think Mr. Henderson might be able to comment on that further. It's certainly not something that we've dealt with very often because there are bigger implications for that. There is planning permission in principle for that area of land. If we revoke those two planning permissions, it wouldn't stop the applicant coming in and making further applications for that area of land. And therefore, you would be back in the same position whereby you then have those two existing houses, albeit on your permission and this current permission. So you might at the end of the day end up with a net increase, and you've further extended that, what I feel is a very defensible boundary to built development at Drove Lone. So I think possibly Mr. Henderson can maybe comment on revocation orders, which is a matter, and then I would possibly advise bringing in Craig to comment on the road safety implications that have been raised, if that helps.
Thank you, convener. Yes, a decision on revocation by the council certainly wouldn't be a decision that could be taken at this meeting. It is very rare. Section 65, I think it is, of the Town and Country Planning Scotland Act 1997 makes provision for potential revocation. It's very rare across Scotland. There are implications for compensatory payments by an authority in that case. As Julie has said, an order needs to be promoted by the local authority to revoke a planning permission, which is then notified on interested parties, landowners, interested parties, for their comments, potential objection to a revocation, and in a number of cases where you might have, say, an objection by an interested party to a revocation, the Scottish ministers may be involved in confirming such an order. So it's certainly not something that could be decided at this meeting today. So I think the decision taken today, if a decision is taken, would be based on the merits of the application before members. I would also say that revocation, I've not come across it in a case where there's a land swap involved. I think that would be a highly unusual situation and quite an unusual basis for the council to promote an order for a revocation of a planning permission in these circumstances. So I don't know if that helps members at all in understanding that aspect that's been raised. I suppose just one last point, and I would have thought it could potentially be the case that even if an application was revoked in those circumstances, there could be an argument that by dint of a previous grant of permission, there might be a view taken that the principle of development may have been established. Whether that would be a good argument, I don't know at the moment, but I'm just flagging that up to members of the committee at this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Henderson. Fiona, is there anything else you want to bring on?
No, it was just I wonder if Craig could say something around the access road, if that's helpful.
Okay. Craig, could we ask you to further describe the road safety aspect?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, convener. So, in relation to Councillor Colley's query about the revocation of the two plots that have permission, clearly, if that permission was revoked, there would be two fewer plots with two fewer houses generating traffic and two fewer houses generating pedestrians. So, in simple terms, it would be less bad if those two were revoked and the current application under consideration were to be approved. It doesn't set aside the fact that as things stand at the moment, there are more properties served off this access than is recommended in the National Roads Development Guide.
Thank you, Craig. Councillor Flynn.
Yep, thank you, convener. Through you, I just wanted to ask Julie, if permission was granted for this development on grazing land, now I don't know what the planning definition, but is there a danger of, I call it creep, in other words, land further east of this development, somebody coming at a later stage and saying, well, look, we've got these houses now, well, we would like to put in planning permission for more. I don't know how much land there is to the east of this particular plot. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Councillor. Gemma, can you bring up the location plan again, just while we're speaking? Again, that's a very, very good question. The applicant's got quite a large land holding here. It includes land within the envelope of built development at Drovelone, and it also includes all of that field to the east, which is the application site and quite a large site. The last planning refusal on this site, which was in 2020, actually included a road, so the access road continued along, and it went further into the site. So you can see, if members can see there, the blue line area, that's quite a large area. So I feel that this is creep out with, which is the established envelope of built development. And if this application is approved, there could very well be further applications to develop that area.
Okay, no, thank you, Julie, and thank you, convener. That clarifies it exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Councillor Bowes.
Yeah, thank you, convener. I'm just checking something just for a bit of clarity. You know, it was like nice, simple clarity, so it helps a little bit. So if the revocation doesn't happen and this does get approved today, would that mean that ultimately they've got approval for 4 houses on the area?
Julie, could you confirm that?
Yeah, so there's extant planning permission for 2 houses. to the side of the wedding shop and the cafe, which has permission and is extant and is not constructed as yet. If this application was approved, they would have planning permission in principle for further residential development to the east. The applicant has shown 2 plots. In theory, you could probably get more than 2 houses in there, so it could be four or more. Or if they came in for a single house, it might only be 3.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
I seem to remember the site visit we did on this one, and I'm going to say something, Craig, you can maybe agree or disagree with me. If I remember the track going up the Rutland Road, it's a hardcore covered track, if I remember right. It's not a tarmac thing, and this is just a big open field. When you get to the end of that last house, this is just a big open field, and I think I'll probably end up being quite consistent in what I was the last time on this. In fact, what I'm going to do is propose the officer's recommendations to refuse.
Thanks. Can I get a wee bit clarification? The 12 buildings that we're talking about, are they already there, or is that 12 buildings plus the 2 that's extant?
Thank you, convener. Sure. There's approximately 12 units there already, give or take. I didn't count them exactly when I'm on site, so I apologise if that figure's not exact, but it's approximately 12, and that's a mixture of houses, semi-detached houses, detached houses, and commercial units. There's a cafe there, and there's also a shop. And then we have planning permission for 2 houses to be built. That's a detailed proposal for 2 semi-detached houses, plus this current application.
Thanks very much, yeah. Councillor Nuno?
Yeah, thanks, convener. Just a quick question, Julie. It is a large parcel of land to the east, even taking into account what's been proposed today. If somebody else was to come in at a later date with an application to build houses on the rest of that land to the east, how would they get road access?
Again, if you look at the application, the location plan, you could see that the track could continue along the northern boundary of that, and that was what was actually shown in the 2020 application, which was refused by us and dismissed at appeal. There was the track continuing along the northern field boundary into that area of land, and the last application that you looked at, which I believe was on site, was for 4 units. What you can actually see there is, if you zoom in, it actually shows that they've kept an area to the north of those 2 plots, which is wide enough to form a track into that land. Or indeed there could be further opportunities through the plots or within the area of land to the south between the 2 plots and the dwelling house to the south there.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Anyone else want to make a contribution, ask a question? No. Sorry, Councillor Sinclair.
No.
And then Councillor Murtagh.
No comment or suggest. I'm just content to second Councillor Bowes' motion to go with the officer's recommendations.
Sorry, Councillor Murtagh.
Thanks, convener, and apologies once again to the committee for being unavoidably late. I do note that because of having missed a significant portion of this item, standing orders will mean that I can't take part in a vote on it, but not necessarily to contribute. And I just wanted to sort of add that although it's quite a complicated site and a complicated history, in terms of what's in the officer's recommendations and in terms of what we are asked to judge against in the form of planning policy and what's in the LDP, I can't see anything in the discussion or the debate which would give any material reason that would support anything other than recommendations, particularly in terms of the classification into greenbelt land, etc. So although I'm not going to take part in a vote, I just wanted to make that contribution that I think that there's been no advancement of an argument to overcome the officer's recommendations and local development planning policy. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Councillor Kerr.
Thanks, convener. I probably agree with my colleagues, but Councillor Colley made I think a great point regarding the two houses that's already there, and if they were taken away. And I understand Mr. Henderson saying it's very unusual, but if that was the route that somebody was going down, I think it's very plausible to do that. Whether they do that or no, I just commenting that I thought that was an excellent point with Fiona Colley. But I'm not saying I'm supporting it, I'm not saying I'm in it, I'm just saying that is a possible argument for supporting that the two houses.
Thanks. Mr. Ince.
Thank you, with the convener's leave. Thank you. And just to clarify, I wasn't suggesting a revocation would be impossible, but I think the key thing is it's not something that could be determined at this meeting. There's a statutory process that would need to be followed. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else got anything to add, then we should go to the motion.
So I think what we have, convener, is a motion by Councillor Bowes that's been seconded by Councillor Sinclair, and that's to agree the officer's recommendations to refuse the grant of planning permission. We don't have an amendment to that, so I'm in the hands of the committee as to whether there's general agreement on the motion.
Anyone got any objection to that motion going forward? No?
Thank you, convener.
No. Sorry, Councillor Colley.
It's all right. I was a little bit slow in putting my hand up. I'm not going to raise an objection on to that, because I hear what other people are saying, and certainly officers' recommendations and the papers are. I agree with Councillor Murtaugh on this, that it's very difficult to offer a valid reason as to why to refuse to object to officers' recommendations. But I think I did want to note some sympathy to the argument that the applicant is making around the revocation and almost swapping one application out for the other, and that it's a difficult thing to be able to have that conversation when we know that we can't make that decision just now, so we would be left with something that was a bit up in the air. So I just wanted to note that rather than make any formal objection.
Thanks, Fiona. Okay then, thanks everybody. If we move to item 5, the formation of new vehicle access and alterations to existing road at the junction at Kersey Bank, Kersey Terrace, South Alloa, for parks and garden buildings. This was called in by Councillor Anslow, and I think Kevin Brown
Kevin
will speak to the report, please.
Thank you, convener. Gemma, could I ask if you could share the composite drawing, please, for committee's benefit? Thank you. If you could zoom in just a touch, so as you can see the 3 existing proposed, and then the slightly more detailed drawing there. That's excellent. This is a detailed application for the construction of a new 84-metre long access track, junction improvements and widening of an existing access track at Kersey Bank, South Alloa. The works relate to the existing Patterson Garden Buildings site, which you can see at the northern part of these drawings. And the works are really designed to improve the access to the existing business by removing the need for heavy goods vehicles and commercial vehicles to make use of the existing tight entrance to the site immediately adjacent to Kersey Bank House, which you can see at the northern part of this drawing. The application's been called in by Councillor Anslow to allow committee to consider safety concerns around access and egress caused by the development. The consultation process has not generated any points of objection. It can be confirmed that Airth Parish Community Council were notified of the application via the weekly list of the 1st of October 2023, and that no letters of objection or representation have been received during consideration of the application. In terms of the development plan policy assessment, this is set out in section 7A of the report. It's concluded that the proposal accords with the development plan in this instance, and the officer recommendation is set out in section 9 of the report and recommends that committee grant planning permission subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you very much, Convener.
Thanks, Kevin. Just move to debate on that right away. Since we have no deputations are in, we'll just move straight to debating this. Anyone have anything to add or question? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Councillor Colley.
Yeah, yes, thanks. I just wondered if we could have some comment from transport planning regarding the road and particularly around lorry access and what difference that makes one way or the other around the existing area.
Yep, Craig Russell.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, in response to Councillor Colley's query, so this is an existing building that takes existing deliveries and makes existing deliveries from the access point further north of the application site. So lorries come and go from this place at the moment. They drive by the existing properties on the east side of Kersey Terrace at the moment, in relation to that business. The proposal seeks to, in my view, improve the access arrangements. There's an existing farm track just at the start of houses on Kersey Terrace. The intention is to widen that farm track and provide a sort of parallel road into the business that would prevent any vehicles going past the houses on Kersey Terrace. Visibility can be achieved. We've asked for a swept path diagram that demonstrates that an articulated lorry can make the turn into the new access track and get in and out the site okay. There are no road safety concerns from us on this one, Convener.
Thanks, Craig. Is that all right, Fiona? Any addition? Okay. Councillor Murtagh.
Thanks, Convener. I mean, I'm happy to move as per the officer's recommendations. It's a road that I go up and down very regularly, and I think I would agree with the officer's estimation there that this new formation, what it does is it enables, in essence, the access to be before the main crop of houses in itself, but the current access is on. It's where the bend starts to go round down towards the area that's a haven and the kind of old pier, etc. And I think that for the look of the plans, it looks a much more preferable area for HGVs to access, and I think it would improve road safety. And I think, given there's been no other objections and no other points raised on it in terms of the consultation, and I don't see any reason to object to it. So I'm happy to move as per the officer's recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Murtagh. I'd be happy to second Councillor Murtagh as a local councillor on that. Councillor Boyce.
As the local councillor in the area. One of the local councillors, soon as at least 3 of us here. I content with what's been said. I was personally anyway. I'm happy that it's removing especially the articulated lorries away from the housing development. Okay, it's moving it a distance away from it, but they're not going to be going past the front door or directly at the front door, and I think it's one that's quite easy to be supported.
Very sensible. Anyone else want to make a contribution? No? Oh, sorry. Really care.
Thanks, Convener. I'm in agreement with the rest of the committee, but what I would highlight, nobody's mentioned that as Greenbelt they're going to. Nobody's bothered about the Greenbelt in this plan application, but because it's for a road that's all right, And as you know, every application has done its own merit, but because it's in a green belt area, doesn't mean say it's bad. Because sometimes it outweighs what the policy says. So quite happy to support, but like to remind everybody that green belt's no bad for everything. Thanks, convener.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, convener. Just on the back of that point from Bailey Kerr, I'm just looking for clarification. Is this an existing farm track that's been upgraded to a longer road?
Perhaps Greg would be better to answer that.
Probably come back.
Or Kevin.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if we could bring up that composite drawing again. I can clarify the points. So there are two elements to it. There's the road which runs, the existing farm track runs east-west and between Kersey Kersey Mains Farm and the existing road at Kersey Terrace. That has been upgraded in width. There's an existing avenue of trees there. It's essentially been upgraded to be as wide that you could pass two cars on it. The other parts of the proposal are the north-south link, which links in with the existing business. That's entirely new. That goes through an area of existing grazing land. I would probably clarify here though that it's not greenbelt land. It's within the countryside. It's outside of the urban settlement boundary, but it's not classified as greenbelt in this location. So that's just for a point of clarity. The other main works proposed are obviously where the upgraded tracks and the new track all meet. That's proposed all to be improved in terms of junction arrangements and visibility displays and so on. So I hope that clarifies things.
Thanks, Kevin. Councillor, you want to come back on that at all?
Thanks, Kevin, for his explanation. However, the last application that was just here before this one, it was green belt, no grazing land, but they use it for horses as well in that area. I don't know if they use that park. I didn't want to go into the debate, whatever. I'm just putting a point, convener.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Billy. Councillor Murtagh.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the debate either, convener, but I think it's important to note that this is we do look at every application on its merits. This is not an application for new development on greenbelt land. This is an application which seeks to widen existing access arrangements, improve on them, and adds an additional link through what is effectively land which is for a similar purpose connected with a business. It's not, although they're putting in a link into the property, it's not a new development application, where I would certainly be giving extreme consideration to the situation with greenbelt land and new development on greenbelt land. So I just want to be clear on that my recommendation to move to approval is completely in cognizance of that issue, and that's the basis that I'm making it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Murtagh. Anyone else? Anything to add to that? It's been no. We have a motion by Councillor Murtagh, seconded by myself. Is there any otherwise minded? Agreed. Agreed. That's it. Okay then, everyone. Nice quick finish today. So thanks very much, everybody, for attending. We'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Thanks, convener.
Sorry, convener, just can I?
Sure, yeah.
I don't know whether I wanted to just ask a question, but I don't know if after the live stream is ended, because it might not be appropriate for public discussion.
Okay. Yeah, so if we'll hold on